Hey Alice, you came at a great night. Raven Zen has returned to grace us this evening, and this episode is brought to you by Mr. Beast. Feast, what is it?
Beast like a beast.
I'm bad at ad reads. Thank you. Yeah, so thanks for that, Mr. Beast, longtime fan of the show. But you just walked in front of a conversation. We were talking about how the government's putting a spell on everybody, and through the media, through what we're shown in the news, it's and also just like with law. My favorite author, Alan Moore, he wrote like Watchmen and like Batman Killing Joke and a lot of comics. And one day he just declared, he's like, I'm no longer a comic writer, I'm a wizard. I'm returning to my homeland. And then he went to Ireland, and like then you enter like crazy Alan Moore era where he's just writing crazy shit. And I think he still makes comics every once in a while too. But my favorite quote from him is, the language about magic is more about language than it is about magic. And I think that's so true. When you talk about magic, you end up figuring out a lot of weird shit about language itself, like how words work. And because all of those are spell. We spell words. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, you are Egyptian pagan? What'd you call it before?
Kemetic pagan.
Kemetic. And is that like Egyptian pagan?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Kemet is the actual name of Egypt before it got named Egypt.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Who are, if you can talk about it, who are your patrons?
So, mainly, I work with Anubis and Sobek. So, with Anubis, I guess I can talk about like how he found me and everything. I feel like I've talked about it before, but I was at a low point in my life, and I just came to a conclusion that life or death is a part of life, and if I just accepted death while I was alive, and I felt a lot better. But this wasn't me like, all right, I'm ready to die. Like I'm gonna die right now. It was just eventually I will, but it's all a cycle. Like it will all happen again.
Yeah.
And he showed up, took my hand, and was like, "Hey, you want to work with me?" And,
How did he show up?
So I was meditating, and I guess I was in some sort of vision kind of state, and I just remember being on a table, being like all my organs being like embalmed, and he was there and he was like, "Hey, it's nice to meet you," like just kind of, it was very...
Did you say your organs were being like removed?
Mm-hmm.
Like mummification?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh shit, I didn't even make that connection. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you recall whether or not your brain was being removed?
I don't remember.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay. And so Anubis is about accepting for your relationship with that what you get out of that is death is more comfortable. Okay, that's really cool. I met Anubis once too. I had done DMT many times up to this point, but my friend hit DMT out of a bong, and it was like just a little bit of DMT and like weed mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And after he hit it, I took it from him and just like reflexively just cleared the bowl, not thinking, I just did it. And I was like, oh wow, that had way more DMT in it than I thought it would. And usually when I do it, I just lay back and close my eyes. But like I had the most insane open eye visuals. On my everything turned like completely white, and it was like one solid object. Like the table just came out of the floor. Like the whole thing was like draped over, and on my coffee table, Anubis scanned in line by line until there was like, he's already like 8 feet tall and he's standing on my table. So he's like 10 feet above. I'm just like, what the fuck? And it was like too much. And I closed my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I was on a spaceship and I could see Earth outside. And Anubis was there. And I'm like, okay, so you took me on a spaceship. And he started showing me stuff. He's like pointing at stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this is. Like, I don't understand. What am I looking at? And then he takes me over to this thing that had it was like a triangle pointing up and like a triangle pointing down. And there were 2 rows of them. And he took a sphere and put it in one. And he took a cube and put it in the other one. And then he like hit something and these things started drilling the shape. Like lasers came out of the triangles. And afterwards, there was the form of a man and a woman. And I'm like, and then next thing I know, I'm back on my couch. And I'm like, I don't know if he's trying, to this day, I still don't know what that means. Because it's like, are you trying to tell me that's how people are made? Is you put them in a machine? Because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not how people are made. So I don't know. I don't know what that was about. But yeah, Anubis seems cool.
He was showing you that new 3D printer technology.
Yeah. Oh, man. And you said Sobek as well?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the alligator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Crocodile. Whatever. I think I can't quite recall how I got some of it exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was in Florida.
I've seen a bunch of them around there.
Yeah, but it was the alligator farm in St. Augustine.
Well, that's where he'd be if he was anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's actually a statue of him, and almost like
Oh, shit.
there's this area that's pretty much a giant altar to him.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so
In Florida.
In Florida.
yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
And I know, like, every time I go there, I like the best offering to give him is water. So I just pour some water in front of him. There's, I don't know. The most I can say about Sobek, though, is he worked, like, if I'm working with Anubis on something specific, Sobek usually comes in just with specific things. I once was like at a meditation event. I was there for I think a week, and we were doing these almost healing type things. Like we were trying to heal people. And I remember like we got all the energy together and everything. And as soon as we did this thing where we rub our hands together, and then like as soon as we did that, I felt energy, and then like my eyes are closed. I can't actually see the person in front of me, but as soon as my hands go out, I see like almost like the lights show up, like the chakras or energy centers, and Anubis is right here, and he's like points to one of the energy centers, and it's like red and distorted, and it was basically like that's what you need to heal. That's the part. And I look over to my other side, and Sobek's there, and he just nods, and both of them start doing this with me.
Okay.
And I felt energy going towards that area, and yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. Man, life is crazy. That stuff is, people have no idea. That stuff is real. Like, it sounds like reishi. Is that what you were doing? Or did you physically, or were you above?
So I wasn't on any sort of drugs, anything like that.
Oh.
I wasn't on anything.
I meant, like, did you have your hands on?
I had my hands, like, out just above.
Above. Okay.
It's like, Reiki.
So you're not actually touching them?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's basically kind of what Reiki rides on is.
Reiki. Did I say reishi? I think I
It's
said reishi.
one of those words that
Reishi's a mushroom.
when you Englishify it, whatever, it's fine.
Though we did learn something interesting about like the way your brain, like the pineal gland, works at that event. There's a certain breathing pattern that can cause, like, I think it's called like the synovial fluid. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but it basically takes that, like, it's in your spine, and like it brings it down, and then it like shoots it up.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a nerve center in your spine, and it's a chemical drop.
And you can do that with a breathing technique? Wow. That's so cool.
There's something similar that occurs with that type of nerve drop thing with cannabis and hunger. And that's why you think you're hungry, but it's after the fact, because cannabis will make you not feel hungry and then make you feel hungry. And it's actually doing the opposite of what it normally would do with that system. And I don't really know, read something about it once. And it's kind of really a trip. And I've heard about that too, and that's what it always reminded me of. It's a spinal drop thing. Like when I studied basically all alkaloids, they say get the cortex of your brain start a reaction. LSD is gone in an hour. Everything is a reaction.
That's wild. It just makes your brain do things. It's like you think about drugs, it's like that thing itself is like it being in there like messes it up. It's like no, it makes an effect.
Yeah.
That just makes your brain do something weird. Like I think
that's with base alkaloids, and then you have psilocybin and things like that, which actually poison you in a certain
yeah
level.
you could call it that. Like mushrooms, you could call it poison.
And so it gives you a different effect, but it still has an alkaloid base. That's why I call it the animal fever. You know, mushrooms give you that. And the cortex of your brain, the center, that's all your instincts. Everything else out is the useless gray matter of your memory. So all your synapses are firing through that, and that's why it becomes chaos, and a lot of people lose their shit. You know.
Interesting. So that was Anubis and Sobek. That's cool. Did you want to talk about Lilith?
Yes.
Okay.
So, something I've noticed, like, in recent years, it kind of actually started in, I'm guessing, the 70s, technically. It wasn't as common then, but there's a lot of women that see Lilith as a feminist deity. But Lilith is not a goddess. She's a demon.
For Alice's sake, run over who Lilith is, and we're speaking of with some, and I've heard this too, with some, especially in the feminist community, called Adam's first wife.
Yeah. Well, Lilith is a trying to figure out how to explain it. She is basically chaos deity.
Yeah.
She is kind of, she's about like the worship of the self, and also is mostly like about like hatred.
The lower self.
Yeah, low vibration.
Yeah. And so I've noticed that there are a lot of like witches, like they call themselves pagan or Wiccan or whatever they want to call themselves. And they pretty much have started only like, oh, Lilith's so cool, Lilith is amazing, but
without knowing a lot about it.
Yeah. Well, some of them know a lot about it. Take the coven I was in, for instance. Most of the women in the coven I was in started worshiping Lilith, and in honor of Lilith, they completely just decided to so they got tubes tied. They got their uterus taken out. Because if you don't know, Lilith likes to eat children. So that's something interesting.
Yeah.
So and most of them, they were very like kind before starting to worship Lilith. Once they started worshiping Lilith, they were kind of dismissive of everyone. And I the energy they brought to the coven was not something I wanted to use in my practice. Especially, like, I don't, like, the amount of, like, chaos energy there when we were trying to, like, establish a circle. It did not, like, it seemed like bad things were happening. Just, they were also experiencing, like, negative things in their lives. More so than me, I think. But they didn't seem to care, because I mean, Lilith is seen as I don't know if this is why they were, like, worshiping Lilith, but Lilith is seen as a feminist icon, I guess. And so...
It's...
I've heard a lot of the same discussion of feminist circles like that, where it's very much a lot of arguments with people discussing religion. That's kind of one of the latest shoot down basic Christianity with this.
If you were a spirit, you would want to tap into, like, as many people as you could, and co-opting other things, like infiltrating other things, is how you get out. Like, it's like a meme, like it's a mind virus.
Right.
Like, yeah, there are certain demons where just like saying their name, or like if you just even think about it too much, like think on it, that's enough to start a process.
Yeah. I think it's really odd, or interesting odd, that you're saying that they either get vasectomized or basically have you just completely removed. And it's kind of baffling, because as a feminist movement, and I've actually seen this now too, where, the idea that women are only looked at like mothers once they become mothers, And, I mean, that can be said about anybody, about anything in society as a whatever.
But it is true, yeah.
In a sense. But at one time, that was a demanded thing by women. You know what I mean? It was very much I stand on this because I am a mother, and that's what I do. It's the most important thing I can do. And
they're saying that is my identity.
Right. And I think that on the same line as you're talking about, any type of deity that needs to feed off life, because, any non-human wants to do nothing but experience this. And if they're locked there, they can't. The only way they can is pull that energy away. And what in essence is happening is you have witches that are removing some of their most powerful magic ability. Because, I mean, that's one of the things that's always blown me away, is that when I speak on magic, there's almost nothing more powerful than being able to create a life.
That almost seems less about a feminine, about being, it's not a feminist thing, it's one of those hatred things, where it's a hatred for life, and a love of destruction. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like different types of people who like call themselves feminists. Some are very much about hatred, and some are actually feminists.
Yeah.
So, like,
I'm very aware.
so,
yeah, it'd be like that. I feel the same way about like every faith and religion. Like I was raised super Christian, and I was Jehovah's Witness. We actually read the Bible. It wasn't just like we went to church. Like I've read the Bible a couple of times, and what irks me the most about Christians is they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like this is like a fucking crazy magic grimoire, but none of y'all understand it. Y'all have no idea what you're tapping into. Like I could go on that for a while, but like everyone, like I argue with my mom about like, so a lot of Christians do the Passover, like not the Passover, but the Lord's evening meal, like the passing of emblems. Like they pass bread and wine, you know. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yeah.
I'm just mansplaining the Passover. That's not the Passover. It's we called it the memorial, but there's another communion. It's communion.
Well,
Yeah.
communion's a Catholic thing where you eat the body and the blood.
Do you eat it?
You eat bread
Does everyone
and
eat
drink
it?
wine, but the bread has been converted to flesh and the wine has been converted to blood.
That's-
Or if you're at my church, it was grape juice.
The Methodist?
I don't know because I went from church to church to church as a
Because
kid.
there's some that do that, but Catholics, it's always going to be wine.
Yeah. But they're like, there's kids here. Like, I can't give them wine. Like,
When I was raised Catholic, I never actually made what is called communion, where you go talk to the priest and tell him whatever the hell he wants to hear, and then you're allowed to go take that. So I never made that, so I never actually was part of that ceremony. And by the time I was growing up, I had no interest in going to.
Yeah.
Because there's no real cool cathedrals here. Well, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah. But like there's so many people that call themselves something and have no idea what it is.
yeah.
I appreciate about you that like you are a very informed pagan, like you practice. I assume you have regular rituals too?
Yes.
Like semi-regular? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been out of my ritual magic game. I need to get back on it, like do symbols. I do some things ritualistically, like my art is always a sigil. And like whether that's a poem or like I post my book as I write it. So whether it's like a page for that or like a standalone poem, but I don't know. I need to get back into routines and habits. I think those in general are just very powerful things. Can you talk about any of your rituals, or is that private? You don't have to.
Well, I've been through many. Like, I'm just starting to, like, celebrate my holidays and things by myself without the coven. And understanding what they actually mean. So, for the longest time, I was like, I am never, ever, ever gonna celebrate Beltane. Ever. I'm never doing it. Because for the coven I was in, this is a little bit like, this can be a little bit of a, anybody can see this as like a trauma kind of thing, because I grew up in this coven. Their definition of Beltane was, we're all gonna have sex, which isn't what Beltane is. That's not what Beltane is. Beltane is It is a fertility festival,
Okay.
but it is for couples in order to have a child.
Okay, so they completely missed the meaning.
Yes,
Okay.
completely.
Interesting. Yeah, I call them penny dreadfuls, but like there's a lot of people, even among us here in Nashville, that wear what we do as a costume. Like
Mhm.
this is an act. Like this is a little thing I'm doing, and I find it disrespectful. It's almost like stolen valor. It's almost like wearing army fatigues. Like, yeah, I fought for freedom. Although nothing like that at all. And like, praise be to our troops. But like, because doing magic and fighting. Actually, I don't believe in any of these wars. Never mind. Changed my mind. Actually, it is worse to call yourself a witch and not be one.
Yeah.
Take it back. But yeah, there's a lot of that.
Mhm.
Also terminology. You know, word witch is a hip thing.
Yeah,
You know, and
it's also like I call them penny dribbles. I also call them baby witches because that's the first step. Is like, oh wow, this looks cool,
Mhm.
and then just getting an interest in it from there. You know,
Yeah.
like that's how it was for me. So I can't hate them too much. It's just like, oh, the baby witch.
Like there's some that like just they kind of. I think what you were about to get at is like they stay there forever, right? There's a lot of them that stay there forever. This looks cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They never progress past
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
especially, and there's a lot of those that build their brand or whatever it is that they sell to the world through that. You know, it's one of the things I was just talking to Alex about going into shops, and it's such a, you know, you'll see a lot of authentic, if you will, things, stuff that you can feel power from. And then you look at a bookshelf and it's, you know, 21 practical spells for, you know, the everyday witch kind
Yeah.
of shit, and I'm like, and it's like Alex saying, you know, somebody's got to start somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, we had a couple of shops around, but a lot of when I first initially discovered anything about Nordic ruins, it was an old book that my brother had got, and I mean it was old as hell, and you know but whenever it came out, it could have been just as hokey to somebody that knew some shit older than that, you know. So now we have the Google God.
Yeah.
Well, something that I kind of hate on Wicca a little bit, because a little bit, I say that just trying to be respectful.
I can tell.
But
I can tell.
you
You don't have to.
Well,
by the way. You don't have to be respectful. It's just Alice. Alice is gonna tell anybody.
Well, so I was Wiccan at one point because it was my starting point. Like, I had a book by Silver Ravenwolf about like the teenage witch sort of thing. That's where I started, and but most Wiccans that I have met, they're like, they don't understand a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I want to call them TikTok witches because they get a lot of their information from TikTok, which is not a reliable source. Like,
Fuck.
I gotta go grab a fire extinguisher.
God damn.
No fucking.
Raven's spitting bars, dude.
but I've seen a lot of it. Like, I've gone on TikTok to see some of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's some witches on there that actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you've got, oh, I worship pop culture deities. I can't.
Like Taylor Swift.
Like Goku.
Oh. That's lit. That's lit. I'm adding Goku to my pantheon now. You gotta find me that good TikTok worship Goku.
Like, it makes paganism look like a joke.
Yeah, it's like,
Like-
deities are like Pokemon. You gotta collect them all now.
It is upsetting and frustrating. I agree with you. Yeah. TikTok witches is a perfect name for it. That's, but it's like everyone wants the easy way, and it's like what you really ought to do is like study the greats, like Peter Carroll or Crowley, and like learn from people who like know a lot about it, you know, and yeah. I sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just gonna say, I tend to be on like the chaos side of magic, like left hand path, but I still use like a lot of like I still have reverence for deities, certain deities. I consider it more like a partnership. I think when it comes to like Lucifer, it's like don't get me started on like Satanists are another one that have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I was a Satanist at one point.
Okay.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I was a Satanist shortly before I came on last time.
Okay.
And I told the story about me putting a pentagram on the wall. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just was like, oh, I'm cool and edgy and Satan. Cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the mindset. Also, I did read the Satanic Bible and was like, oh, this all makes sense. Like,
Yeah. I think real Satan, like I'm a Luciferian, but I'm not Levian, because like
Most people forget, a lot of people that claim Satanism that I've met through the years and years of this were basically just anti-Christians, and then I would blow their bubble and remind them that Satan is a Christian deity.
yeah,
You know, and
specifically Christian,
specifically a Christian deity.
like not even in the Jewish scripture.
Yeah, right. It's not even.
Yeah.
It's not even a Yahweh there.
For me, it's I'm sure you'll understand this too, but it for me it doesn't even matter if they existed on this plane at some point, because like all ideas exist, like all of the gods are out there, and so for me it's like just I worship concepts, and those concepts happen to also be alive, like they're not just in your head, like they exist also. And time gets weird like that. Did we create them? Did they create us? It's kind of, but to me, I just don't care. It doesn't matter, because the symbol is enough, right? It's like Lucifer to me is anti-archon. It's resistance to authority. No one stands above me, which is like why I have I have an overwhelming hatred for authority of all kinds. And the thing is, if you're a real Luciferian, you don't worship Lucifer, because you're missing the point. Like it's all about liberation and not putting anything above you. And it's like, yeah, this is completely over some people's heads. Yeah.
yeah.
it'd be like that. Sorry, go ahead.
I've seen a lot of people, like, when it comes to trying to go left-hand path, a lot of people, they do miss the point. They worship the deities that, they think, like, I'm going to work with this deity, but actually, like, they're above me, and I'm scared. Please don't hurt me, but also work with me.
Dude, you're such a savage. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, I mean, I've been through this myself. Like,
yeah,
I was that way.
it'd be like that.
So
It's like you're like I'm above all, and then you meet something and you immediately cower to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there too. That's happened to me too. Alice has heard the story before, so I'll tell you later. But I met Satan one time, not Lucifer. To me, they're different things. And like this was in Baby Witch days, and it's like I definitely cracked. Like he got me. Like it was fucking terrifying because that never happened before. So, but yeah, we all got to go through it. We all got to learn a thing. But yeah, there's a lot of this going on in the government, and like they're very much aware of spirits and like how to control the subconscious, the conscious in a mass. And like hypnosis, they used to show like back like old TV. It's like at the count of 3 you'll think you're a chicken, and like stuff like that. And you don't see a lot of that anymore because that shit is absolutely real. Like you can make people believe anything. The mind is so malleable. So like if people can do that to people, spirits can do that to people. They can be right in front of you and you not realize it because they're just hypnotizing you. They've made themselves invisible to your sight. It's kind of like what do they call that?
I think that's why. Well, I mean, hypnosis is a mild form of domestication. If you think about it, and as a society, we're all under this hypnosis because that's what we're trained into. Things, alkaloids, LSD, psilocybin, things that break that up. That's what cause people like us to step outside, force ourselves out of the box because it breaks all that up. That's one of the reasons why all this shit's illegal.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. This stuff doesn't make me, doesn't make my liver fail and kill me. And mass addiction, I don't drive 100 miles down the road and kill everybody and say, why is this not illegal? But this shit that makes me stay inside, get a little bit paranoid, too paranoid to like hurt myself or anybody else, and self-reflect on things and become a better person is illegal as hell.
It's like, and the worst things for you are not optional. They're like get this, like put fluoride in your water. It's like, it's the worst thing for you because it calcifies your pineal gland. And but we don't have a choice in that. That's like forced on us. So it's not that they don't care. It's not that they're trying to keep us safe. That's bullshit. They don't give a fuck about us. People really need to understand that the government does not give a fuck about us at all. They do things to appease us occasionally, but we're cattle. You were talking about 1984 earlier. I'm really excited for you to finish it because that's where we're at, and that's where we're headed. It's like a really pivotal moment in human history right now, because here soon there won't be anything we can do about it. If we don't do something now, they're gonna have AI killing. They're gonna have Terminators around.
Well, a lot of the youth now think that's overblown. But the thing is, it's like when I was coming up, the thought of 1984 occurring was all as part of the Cold War. It was on the horizon of that. Everybody was like, that could eventually happen. And then like the 90s kind of hit, and it kind of, everything kind of seemed to be like, we just got a corrupt ass government, but it's whatever. And then this shit really started popping off. All the censorship, the heavy censorship. People forgot about, we lost our minds because they wanted to put parental advisory stickers on stuff. And people are like, well, that was just a little sticker. Yeah, but they didn't realize that that was a compromise.
Was it that Tipper Gore?
Tipper Gore.
Yeah.
She wanted it gone. She didn't want metal or rap at all. Any of that. Any of that shit, if it was up to her, it would have all gone to a censorship board and been like, oh, y'all, the public can't have this because it,
Man.
She was screaming about Def Leppard's Pyromania cover. Fucking Def Leppard. Pyromania cover has crosshairs in a building, like getting shot, it looks kind of cool for 80s. And I'll never forget, she said, burn a building down. This is what this telling children, to burn a building down. And I'm like, fucking Def Leppard.
Say, hell yeah, it is. Burn that motherfucker down.
So, it is here. It's not coming. It is here.
It's honestly, it's probably already too late. But if there's ever a time to do it, it's not next year. It's not a month from now. It's like we're losing every day. We get farther from being able to liberate ourselves, and we easily could, in theory, unless they have some shit that's like. There's a possibility that we could, maybe, if we all could agree, but they divide us on everything. They divide the part of the that Lilith branch of what am I saying? Feminism. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. What's that shit called again? On like the toxic side of like the Lilith, God damn it! What? Feminism. Okay. Holy shit! It just burns. I'm just kidding. That's a joke, Alice. What the fuck was I saying? It's like also like a hatred for men.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like that's a big part of it. And that's so they divide gender, they divide people over religion, they divide. I cannot believe, like it genuinely blows my mind that people still do this left wing, right wing thing. It's like you guys are so fucking gullible. Like this is one puppet master with two puppets, and y'all all keep fighting for it, and it only works because people buy into it. It doesn't have to work, and that's a big part of what I'm trying to do is like wake people up.
Well, hatred is like the feeling of hatred is addictive.
Sometimes hurt is there's like a good hurt. Yeah. Yeah.
So I tell people all the time is and this kind of goes back to what you're talking about with fearing, thinking you understand something and then you cower at it, And it's one of the reasons why I was talking about, Yahweh is not my way, because there should be no fear of God. Because hatred isn't the opposite of love, fear is the opposite of love. And hatred is an emotion, But fear is truly what prevents things. Fear is what keeps you held down. Fear is what keeps you oppressed. Fear is what keeps you from being able to expand yourself. Not hatred. Hatred can actually drive you to do things. Sometimes not very well, but, so but it goes back to that, that's all part of the domestic brainwashing, society. And it's been done for thousands of years, and that's how, you know, the Roman control manual we call
The New
the
Testament.
New Testament.
Yeah, it's just a way to control people.
Have people in this country thousands of years later screaming at each other about this religion being like that white man colonizer Christianity religion
Yeah,
that came from Africa,
right. Yeah,
that got introduced to Europe to control
And they don't-
Europe.
and they don't know anything about it. They
Don't
just rep it.
understand any of that,
Yeah,
you know.
they rep it, but they don't know
Right.
anything about it. And like I think that's a good point, and like tolerance is like an absolute. There's no negotiating on tolerance for people. But I'm sick of pretending like to criticize a religion or an idea of any kind is racist somehow.
Yeah.
Like I should be able to criticize Islam without being racist, and I should be able to criticize Judaism without being racist. And it's like, but in the case of these things, they get to call you racist because that's very efficient. It's a very effective thing to hide behind. Because now you're a bad guy if you criticize this
Isms are
at all.
cheap these days. Isms are so cheap they got no value to them. You know.
Yeah, that's one of the like coolest things that you've taught me is that it's all about the ism. When you make something the core focus of who you are and what you represent, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying about like true left-hand path. Like it's not about getting on your knees and revering anything. It's like you can have partnerships with things, but it's like you are a god. You don't have to bow to any god.
Absolutely.
It's yeah. They don't teach you that in school.
What is it something that what do all gods want to be?
Human.
Human.
It's there's something really, we all take it for granted, but there's something really special about this, about just being a human.
You can end up being a god for eternity, but you're only ever going to be a human for maybe a little over 100 years. You know.
Yeah, I know I've been here before, and I think
Well,
probably
also
all
goes
have
back
too.
to what you were saying at the beginning about not the worship of death and not the I want to die, which is also a very much overblown thing in the fashion sense of darkness or goth, because it's, you know, yeah, there's cutesy death stuff, like, oh, that's so cute, but it's the understanding the comfort in being part of that circle that is existence, you know, because it's one of those things that separates us. You know, we see animals and we wonder if they know about their own mortality. And a lot of things seem to, because they will, like cats will leave. If they can, they
Oh yeah,
will
cats
leave
know
and,
shit.
yeah, and they will leave and go die. They won't be around you know, if they can. So, you know, one wonders, a lot of animals seem to kind of know.
Yeah. Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have quite a few. And I've actually had some die and come back to me.
Oh. Okay.
So I guess my first example I can say is we had a pit bull mix. Her name was Aria. She was very, very sweet. Very like she had this little look about her, like she'd do this little like look up to the side, like if you were petting her, she'd like sit down and just like it was adorable. But one day she got into something, and she passed away. And I can't remember how long it was after, but it was in 2020. We went to the Nashville Humane, and there was this little blue heeler mix, and he was just looking at us, and like everywhere we go, he like just let me out. I want to see you. I want to see you. And we got to meet him, and he kept running back and forth between me and my mom. And he had some of the same like mannerisms that Aria did, and not like looking back like now, he has some of the same like pretty much all the same facial expressions. He does the thing, like looks up at us and everything, and we did ask him. We were like, "Are you Aria?" And he was just like, he just sat down and just looked at us.
Wow.
And so I do believe that animals, they know.
Yeah. Death is not the end. It's all a circle. Nothing ever ends. Nothing ever begins. Time is not real.
We have all been here before.
Yeah.
And we'll all be here again.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I'm open to ascend. Not to return to the hive mind, like nirvana, but to ascend without becoming human again.
The Dalai Lama announced at some point that he's not going to return.
Really? Someone just told, it was Chance, told me something really interesting I hadn't thought about, but he was talking about Jesus being the Buddha and all these other figures reincarnated, and like that was the last time.
I've heard stuff like that.
Which I'm like, that's fascinating. I hadn't
Buddha
thought about that.
is supposed to be constantly reincarnated, just like the Lama. Dalai Lama is who he originally was, reborn, and they go and find him every time he passes. The Tibetan Buddhist method is amazing the way they do it, because it's based on a pearl that's fed to you, and when you're cremated, they find the pearl in the ashes, and they look at your footprint, which way it's facing. Then they take that information and give it to an astrologer, that's a Buddhist astrologer of the temple, which usually got to be sent to him. He does a full reading on all the info and then sends them information about the relative whereabouts that he should be when he's reborn, and then they go and look. And it's not just him. There's a documentary about a monk whose master had passed away, and he missed him so greatly, he went and found him as a child, and that's what he did. He had a reading done, and they determined it had to be one of like 4 or 5 villages. And he went around, and when they found, they asked everybody, was there a child born recently? And and y'all probably heard that, like the Lama does this, but anybody that's reborn will do this, where they will take personal items of the former and then put other items with it that weren't his, and then have the child go up and say, what is yours here? And they'll go and they'll grab everything that was theirs, and that's one of the ways they determine that no, it's got to be him. And then he's brought to the temple, and he's pretty much raised as that person. And, you know,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild because they're taking it from their family.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They snatch him up.
Well, the thing is, a lot of
We
times,
got him.
one thing, it's a little village, you know, and it's kind of like, oh, either our son can stay here and work the rice fields and, you know,
Man, the
die when
Catholics
he's
would
80
love that.
something.
You can just snatch up little kids.
Yeah.
It's like, this, come with me.
But they come and they tell them, and they're like, oh, wow, no, he's a monk. Cool, we'll send him on because they know he's going to be straight. You know, it's like one of the best lives you can live. You don't want for anything.
I got you. So it's like, yeah. I guess you could go see him too, probably.
Because according to them, and a lot of them all believe the same thing anyway. So they're coming to them saying, hey, your son just got born.
Oh, right. They're all
this.
believers. Yeah.
Y'all know that's really all homeboy, right? And they're like, oh, wow, cool. You know? So we don't got to raise his ass.
He wasn't going to make it to the winter anyway.
We're a little worried about things around this village anyway.
Do you believe in aliens, like extraterrestrials?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, I don't think about it very much, but I believe that they are, either they are themselves, like they're higher than us, like they're more advanced. They're either those like deities that are like gods or
Demons.
or demons or
Yeah.
whatever, or they're somewhere in between. Like they're almost there.
Okay. Do you think it's a progress? Like a human can achieve this?
Yes.
I think here's the weird thing is like I've been here before, but I get the feeling that I didn't have to and I chose to. Like I was watching it and I'm like, I'm gonna go do something. And I'm an uptight person. I'm not like I have fun and like, but I don't really relax. And it's because I grew up with like that Christian guilt of like there's a scripture about if you're aware of something and you don't do anything about it, it's you're blood guilty of that because you could have done
Silence
something
is
about it.
violence.
Yeah. So I feel that and I'm aware of what's going on in the world. And I'm like, well, this is the only fight in town. It's us versus authority. And I think everyone, let me know if you guys disagree, but everyone knows the government sucks, right? Like everyone, nobody's like, yeah, the government's great.
Even the people in the government are like, God damn, this is correct. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm part of it.
For some reason, there seems to be some people that think the government is great and will do everything for them. I don't know where they got that from, because it's been proven time and time again. They don't know. They don't.
Okay, so there are some people that are seriously pro-government.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
see,
hard
here's
to
the thing is
believe
like,
that they actually don't
maybe it's,
realize it, but
maybe it's because I'm like mostly interviewing artists, but
cognitive dissonance is real.
we've done almost 200 of these and I don't think I've met one.
Most
like-
artists.
You think it's just because I'm pulling artists? Is that
Yeah.
it?
A lot of
Or-
that, and also the consensus, especially with us. You know,
I guess people already know what we're about when that comes
yeah. I mean, most people in general, if they know me, are not going to talk to me too much about,
Yeah.
you know, why the government's good, because it's, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I've met some people. I went to an arts high school, and some of those people were only there because their parents wanted them to like do something better. maybe, or they were rich kids and their parents were artists. And some of them they were not intelligent people. And anytime I had a few teachers that wanted to actually discuss how the government is corrupt and things like that, and they would be like, oh, this is stupid, blah blah blah. Like they would just not listen. They were like, oh well, actually the government will do this for me. No.
Yeah. Okay. So there are people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. It's a religion. So, of
Mhm.
course, there's blindly devout people in it.
I mean, I had an English teacher who wanted us. She was like, "All right, what do you want to read? Animal Farm or Anthem?" And we read both.
Nice.
When we got to Anthem, though, there was one person that was like, "The grammar's all wrong," and I was like, I was that person in the class that was like, well, there's a reason for that. It's because they can't use language that is, indicative of the individual. That's the point of the way they speak. That's why the grammar is wrong. And they were just like, they looked at me like, I hate you. Like, shut up, you nerd, shut up. And, like...
You hit them with a well, actually.
Well, actually. Can we get a well, actually?
Well, actually.
That was stellar.
I think, okay, so maybe not everybody, but most people know this, but no one seems willing to do anything about it. Like, everyone just kind of is defeatist, like, well, there's nothing we can do. And it's like, well, not with that attitude. Like, yeah, no shit, if you act like that.
Well, there's a lot of intricacies when you start talking about things like revolution.
That's what we're going to talk about on the live stream coming up. We're just going to get...
Definitely don't need to be...
We're going to get fucking shitty and just get canceled. Get pulled off
That's right,
the air.
Alice. Coming up, a new segment from Rabbit Hole. Get shitty, get canceled.
I mean, like, who gives a fuck? You know? Life is short, and it is a sin not to be who you are. It is... life is a gift, and you have... Here's the thing, is like, I had someone on recently who's telling me that the point of life is to have as good of a time as you can. And I'm like, that's definitely part of it. Not only is that wise, but that's also your obligation. You are alive. It is wrong for you not to live to the fullest. But also, you have some other obligations, like take care of those around you, take care of the planet. Like, you have responsibilities. It's not... The point of life is not just to have a good time. It's to not make it worse, and to help as much as you can. Help other people.
Selfish on the term life. When they're like, life is about... It's like, we're not talking about... Life is not just yours.
Yeah.
Life is the existence of life. So it's like you're saying, it's not... Yeah, it's about having the best time you can, but that's all life. So if your best time is destroying other life,
that's a good way of putting it.
That's not really what it's about.
It's not just about you having the best time. Yeah. Yeah.
It's about me having the best time.
So you always said put number one first. It's like, yeah, I'm number one.
Number one, God damn it.
It's yeah. Enough about that.
It's also do as thou wilt, as you often quote.
Shall be the whole of the suggestion. No, it's a law. Like, you have to, as a Thelemite, you have to. That's another group of people that does not understand the teachings at all, is Thelemites, like Crowleys. They're it is your obligation to live how thou wilt. It's not like that's not thelema, to deny yourself.
Right.
But also, people take that super far because Crowley took it super far.
Yeah.
But there, like, nothing in the book of the law is telling you treat other people like shit. There's a lot about agency and how man has the right to eat how he wants, sleep how he wants. Man has the right to kill anyone who would thwart those rights. So if anyone tries to take away your liberty, you are in your right to kill them. And that's thelema. But you're either it's either like satanic panic, like this is bad. They're saying disregard people entirely, live only for yourself, or it's a Thelemite who knows nothing about it and thinks something similar actually. Yeah. Anyway. It's I think a lot of Satanists and maybe even atheists know more about the Bible than a lot of Christians do, because they have to nitpick it and like you said, hate is addictive. Mm-hmm. So it's oh, I hate this so much, I'm going to learn as much as I can about it.
I haven't been a Christian in decades, and I've learned more about Yahweh and hell, the most I learned about Christianity and Judeo-Christianity is through Rastafarianism.
Yeah, that's so many things split off of Judaism. It's
it happens with everything, really.
Yeah.
Buddhism did that. Buddhism has thousands of different sects now.
Well, it's something I absolutely love my dad and always have. He used to be the kind of Christian, actually, he would go through a cycle. He would blindly follow and not really know anything about it. And when I was starting to get into Kemetic paganism, I was trying to, have a conversation with him about it. And he never really had an answer as to why I shouldn't be on that path. And eventually, something I really appreciate is he actually started studying the Bible. He started actually learning about his own religion, and he was like, well, I apologize for all of the hateful things I've said and hateful things I've believed. All of this, I was following the Bible, but not really. And he seems more, I don't know that I actually believe what I told him, but I just wanted to ease his mind a little bit, because he was still kind of in that freaking out, what if my daughter never goes to heaven sort of thing. What if I never see her in heaven?
Yeah.
Well, I said, well, who's to say that Anubis appearing to me isn't God in a different form? That's what I told him. I was like, I wouldn't know that, you wouldn't know that, but...
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
But it did ease his mind, and now he's very open-minded about, my religion and everything.
That's awesome.
So...
And that's a big thing to admit, is that I didn't understand this the way I thought. Yeah. It's not what I thought it was. Mm-hmm. That's, it took me a long time to understand why, in my church, there's all these like old people that are way smarter than me. Like I know they're smarter than me, but they don't see the glaring issues with what I see. It's like, why is that? And it took me like I only realized this as an adult. Like it took me years after I left that cult that I really understood why. And the answer is I was lucky to get out at 18, because the longer you stay in something like that, like the more it becomes your identity, and anyone attacking it is attacking you. It's like that's the problem with identity politics. That's the problem with isms, is if I say something negative about Christianity, a Christian gets their feelings hurt. And it's like, I'm not attacking you, I'm attacking this. And it's your choice to side with it or not. In fact, if you really have faith, back it up. It's like, do you think Jesus would have just thrown his hands up if someone was like, what you believe is dumb? It's like, but they don't know anything about it. That's why they don't talk about it. They don't want to have a conversation about their book. It's really hard knowing a lot about the Bible and not being a Christian. Anyway, it's a lot, and it's like that with everything. It's like that with every belief system. Politics are like that too. Like, I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal. It's like, no, you're a human being. Like, you've put on this mask, and that's really dangerous, because religion is more or less stable. This happened, it's not changing. When you make a political party your god, it is fluid. So now if that thing does something that you don't morally agree with, you're already in the cult. You can't side against it. It's kind of like a coven. Like, it's like, a coven is a system of governance. It's a democracy usually, not all the time, but
good old democracy.
yeah, but that's really dangerous, because then your belief system is fluid, and it's like that means your morals are fluid. You don't know what you believe. You find out through TikTok or through Facebook what you believe.
It boils down, and it's the dumbing down of society, where it's, instead of giving somebody not even just the opportunity, but forcing somebody to have to think about the nuance of things, of another human. You know, diet is one of the easiest ways to look at it in the society. You know, I'm not vegetarian, I'm not vegan, I'm not pescatarian. But if I go to eat somewhere, depending on what they serve, I have to tell them certain things, because if I tell them, I don't eat any of this kind of meat, oh, you're vegetarian. Well, no. And then I'll tell people I still eat fish. Well, you're pescatarian. Well, no. Well, yeah, that's what you are. I'm like, well, no, when I decided on my diet, I didn't look up the word pescatarian and look at the fucking list on what it requires and say, okay, this is how I'm going to live. And that is exactly what goes on with diet, religion, lifestyle, all of that shit in society now, because it's self-service, and it's off a commercial, and it's dumbed down. It's easy, it's quick. It's quicker to categorize.
It's easy. It's the easy path.
To categorize.
And to put yourself in a certain label or group makes you feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
And that usually makes you feel good about yourself, like you're doing something, even if you're not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's what do you call that? It's like belonging. That's not the word I'm looking for. I can't remember words today.
There's a term for it. It's like it's not crowd mentality, but it has to do with you get reassurance from a crowd and it actually drives you forward, or
It's a community.
Yeah.
You belong to a community, which feels good.
People want to belong.
Yeah.
But
The problem being is that for us to come together as a world and be all loving,
one
we have
community.
to realize is that one thing that we all are is just fucking human.
Yeah, it's one community.
You know,
It has to be.
putting yourself in a label like that to find community puts you in an echo chamber that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to get out of those things, or out of those echo chambers, because, you know, maybe you start believing, maybe you don't believe something, maybe you start feeling bad about yourself, like you're morally wrong for it, and you're in fear that you're going to lose everything because you've built your life around this identity.
Yep. It's the more you dig in, the harder it is to get away from. Yep.
and there's that fear again.
It's the same thing as like a gang break-in.
How can you love that lifestyle if you're there out of fear?
Mm-hmm.
You're held there out of fear, and that's why I think people get so, you know, reactive in whatever wild way they do. Is because of that. It's a conflict. So
That's such a shitty feeling, to be afraid of leaving someone and like staying part of their community because you're afraid to leave them. That's such an oppressive feeling. And that's how they keep it together. That's how cults stay together. It's like Jehovah's Witnesses, you're not allowed to talk to anyone that leaves. Like, if I'm what's considered an apostate, which means, but that's a step further because I also talk out against it. But you can be disfellowshipped, which is just like to avoid him. But like, that's how they keep it together. It's like, you're going to be ostracized and we won't talk to you if you don't commit to this. Yeah. It's really cool that we're all here because we've all experienced things like that. And we've all decided, no, I'm my own person. Yeah. It's very powerful. I'm trying to build community here, but I've decided that the one thing, the central idea, is open-mindedness. It is the pursuit of knowledge. Knowledge can be used for good or evil, so like no judgment. But like, the only doctrine is anti-doctrine. Like, nothing is off the table. Anything can be discussed, and I would say to a radical point, like absolutist. And I'm like, it's beyond whether people are comfortable with it or not, because I don't really care if people want to stay asleep. We don't have that luxury. We're in a bad way, and we all have to wake up. It's not your decision whether you want to stay asleep or not. Like, anyway, that's my point of view. Like, I know not everyone sees it that way, but yeah. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. This has been really informative, and I love having these kind of conversations. I'd love to have you back.
I'd love to be back.
We'll see you next time, Alice.